someone hijack a plane, demand a fortune, jump into a stormy night, and just disappear? It's a question that has haunted investigators for over 50 years.
So in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly what happened on that fateful flight. We'll dig into what the FBI's massive investigation actually uncovered and explore why the man known as D.B. Cooper became one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries.
You know, the craziest part is how it all started. Not with a bang, but with a quiet, totally unassuming transaction. It was the day before Thanksgiving, back in 1971, and everything seemed completely ordinary. So on the afternoon of November 24th, this guy in a business suit walks up to the airline counter. Every single move he made was deliberately unremarkable. He paid cash for a one-way ticket using the name Dan Cooper. Once he got on the plane, he lit a cigarette and ordered a bourbon. He was literally hiding in plain sight, just another face in the crowd. But right after takeoff, that quiet illusion just shattered. He calmly handed the flight attendant a note. Now, she thought it was his phone number or something, so she just slipped it into her pocket. But he leaned in and said, "Miss, you'd better look at that note. I have a bomb." The poor stewardess, stunned, did exactly what he said. And then he opened his briefcase, just enough for her to see this mass of wires and red-colored sticks. His demands were then relayed to the captain with this chilling precision: $200,000, all in unmarked $20 bills, and 4 parachutes. The specifics of it all sent a really clear message. This wasn't some desperate act. This was a carefully orchestrated plan. For the next couple of hours, the plane just circled Puget Sound, while authorities on the ground scrambled to meet his demands. Down below, it was this tense, chaotic operation, but up in the air, Cooper stayed eerily calm. As the plane finally landed in Seattle, Cooper's plan unfolded exactly as he laid it out. All 36 passengers were let go in exchange for a bag stuffed with cash and the 4 parachutes he'd asked for. But he wasn't done yet. No, he kept several crew members on board. He then ordered the pilots to take off again. This time, he had a new flight plan for them. Head south toward Mexico City, stay below 10,000 feet, and whatever they did, do not pressurize the cabin. His endgame was about to begin. In the dead of night, flying right through a storm, Cooper told the crew to open the aft air stair. That's the staircase at the very back of the Boeing 727. Below him was absolutely nothing but a vast, black, and completely unforgiving wilderness. And then, a little after 8 p.m., he took the money, strapped on a parachute, and just walked down those stairs into a 200-mile-per-hour wind and freezing rain. He jumped into the night and into legend. Just like that, Cooper was gone. You know, if you find mysteries like this as compelling as I do, a like and a follow really helps us create more of these deep dives into the unknown. We really appreciate your support. The moment the plane landed safely, the largest manhunt in the nation's history kicked off. But the FBI was basically faced with a ghost. They had a description, a fake name, but really almost nothing else. The official investigation was given the codename NORJAC, which is short for Northwest Hijacking. It would go on to become one of the longest and most exhaustive cases in the Bureau's entire history, totally captivating the public imagination for decades. And the sheer scale of the effort was just immense. I mean, the FBI interviewed hundreds of people. They vetted over 800 suspects in the first 5 years alone. And yet, after all that work, they were left with just a handful of possibilities. The trail was ice cold right from the very start. So, despite this absolutely massive effort, the investigation came up with almost no concrete leads. The man had vanished as if he were never even there. The only real clues the FBI had were the things he left behind. A black tie, which later gave them a partial DNA profile. The 2 parachutes he didn't use, and some cords he cut from one of them. They were tangible objects for sure, but they offered no real answers. For 9 years, there was nothing. Total silence. Then, in 1980, a young boy digging on a sandbar along the Columbia River uncovered this rotting bundle of cash, $5,800, and the serial numbers, a perfect match. It was the first and, as it turns out, the very last piece of the ransom money ever found. So what happened to him? Well, the FBI has long weighed 2 main possibilities. The evidence that he died is pretty compelling. He jumped into a storm, over a dense forest, with an unsteerable parachute and 0 survival gear. But the argument that he survived is just as powerful, because after decades of searching, no body, no skeleton, and no parachute were ever found. And that's really it. The lack of a definitive answer is what transformed this criminal case into a modern American folk legend. So why does this story still captivate us so many decades later? In 2016, after 45 years, the FBI announced it was no longer actively investigating the Norjack case. They needed to redirect their resources to other priorities. They still preserved the evidence, of course, for historical purposes, but they stated that unless some very specific physical evidence, like the rest of the money or the parachutes, shows up, the active search is over. And that leaves us with the ultimate question. Who was this guy? The name on the ticket, Dan Cooper, was a fake. Fun fact, the media mistakenly reported it as D.B. Cooper after questioning a man with those initials who was cleared right away, but the name just stuck. So, was he a criminal mastermind, or was he just a reckless amateur who got incredibly lucky? Well, there's one little detail that really complicates the legend. Investigators believe he actually jumped with a non-functional training parachute, one that had been sewn shut, one he never even bothered to check. That single fact suggests he probably wasn't the expert skydiver so many people imagine him to be. And that right there is the core of his legend. In a world full of surveillance, data, and forensics, D.B. Cooper somehow, someway achieved the impossible. He stepped out of a plane and into thin air, leaving behind absolutely nothing but a giant question mark. So I gotta leave you with the ultimate question. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you believe D.B. Cooper survived and actually pulled off the perfect crime? Or did his entire story begin and end the moment he leaped into that stormy night?